Monday morning, everybody. This is the video I promised Shoni and you guys about rhetoric and comp, in which I look like I am a chauffeur in an Escalade waiting for a customer in the parking lot. That's what I was like. I made another video, but the audio was so bad on it because it was raining so hard last week that I decided I'd give it another whirl and be a little more focused. So I think one of the things Shoni wanted people who made videos for this intro class to do was talk about what rhetoric and composition is and what the subdisciplines are. I can talk about a little of what I do, which is teaching writing, but I should probably tell you what I think the definition is, right? So here we have what we call rhetoric, composition, and literacy studies, which means that it's a combination of those three things. Rhetoric, looking at how language makes things happen in the world. Composition, looking at design strategies, what we might have called writing strategies many years ago, but now I think of as design strategies, since most of the texts that we look at are considered to be multimodal now. And then literacy studies is the learning component, looking at how reading, writing, research skills, knowledge, how it's learned, how it's gained, that kind of stuff. So, good morning. I'm gonna have to put on my old man glasses for this part. So another thing Shoni wanted me to bring up was job opportunities for people that do rhetoric and composition track. Oh yeah, so if you go to the Career Exploration Center at UT Austin's website, you will find a listing of what they call direct job opportunities, and I guess what they don't call this, but they should call indirect job opportunities. They just say there's more job opportunities. But there are things that make sense, I guess, as a writing specialist, that you might be a staff writer for a magazine and write articles. You might go on to be a script writer. You might be someone who does research for an author. You might be a copy editor for an insurance company because you've got writing skills. But you might also be a ad buyer or an advertising and promotions manager. I know several people that have gone rec comp track that are real estate agents. I know at least one person who is a sommelier, or at least training to be a sommelier, who went on to get a master's in something else like physics, I think. Recruiters, human resource specialists, assistant deans at universities, public relations people, planners, meeting planners, which makes sense to me because I was a wedding planner and a flower designer at one point before I was a rhetoric and composition person. There's a lot of activists, a lot of nonprofit work that goes on. A lot of people that do stuff in the green industry, a lot of people that do stuff in tourism. And then there's a whole lot of specialists that end up going into the law route. There's a lot of people that go on to grad school and get masters and PhDs in rhetoric and composition because they want to work at a university as a professor. But basically, if you want to think about it this way, there's a whole lot of rhetoric and composition people who find a role as a communication specialist in some form of business. They do some kind of community work, whether it's volunteer work or they are working for a company to do community outreach. So you have a lot of organizers, you have a lot of academics, and you have a lot of communication specialists. And people that come out of rhetoric and comp tracks are usually a mix of those things. They usually have a set of skills, so a lot of the people that you'll meet will be able to both run a conference, write an academic paper, teach a workshop, but also be a consultant or a specialist for either higher education, secondary education, or some kind of public business or nonprofit that needs help with their PR or help with their community outreach, help with something that involves communicating to an audience that they haven't been able to reach yet. So in terms of subdisciplines for rhetoric and comp and literacy studies, you can see from this bookshelf filled with Bedford St. Martin's books on the discipline. that you can study anything from computers and composition to disability studies, to teaching, developmental classes, style, students' language, including multilingual approaches. You can study assigning, responding, and evaluating the student work. You can study community outreach and composition and design, writing across the curriculum, visual rhetoric, multimodal composition, and this is actually just a taste of different types of stuff that you can do. If you want to look at some of these things, you can always come by my office or talk to Shoni and grab one of these books that is a bibliography and look at all the different areas that they've subdivided things into since whatever the most recent bibliography is, which looks like it may be 2016. Plus, you can come in and hang out and listen to an Explosions in the Sky record. Alrighty, on to the next question. So the final thing that I was going to talk to you guys about is what you can expect from a rhetoric and composition and literacy studies specialization in the English BA. As you can see, it's a pretty tight set of classes. You're going to get composition theory and pedagogy, which is a class about teaching writing. You're going to get writing and culture, which will appeal to those of you who are interested in looking at more cultural phenomenon and how it's related to communications, specifically writing. Literacy studies, which is about learning and education. Advanced comp, which is giving you practical writing experience and practice for publication. And survey of rhetorical theory, which will give you one semester on the history of rhetoric, which is like the foundational set of concepts that rhetoric and composition is based on, right? And then you get some electives, which I would suggest you take more rhetoric classes if that's what you're into, because you definitely need the alternative rhetorics class or the women in rhetorics class to understand how communication works in different contexts, right, in different situations. So again, yeah, it's definitely the sexiest of the 5 concentrations. I'm saying that with my tongue in my cheek. It's the concentration that has the most to do with teaching, how communication works, the impact that writing has in the world, and in doing critical rhetorical analysis of how language works, which is different than doing like analysis as a creative writer and analysis as a lit person or linguistics analysis. So if you want to know more about that, you should definitely take the survey of rhetorical theory class, or talk to somebody who's worked on the degree like Shoni, or talk to somebody who's got 2 degrees in rhetoric like me, or any of the rest of our rhetoric crew. So I hope that's all been helpful. Sorry it was kind of slapdash together, but that's what I could do in the time that I had. So thanks for listening.